Good afternoon, everyone. So, we are discussing about climate change, right? So, we have started our discussion of climate change related current affairs. Before we move to our next topic, let us discuss few causes of climate change. Natural as well as anthropogenic. Natural as well as anthropogenic causes. Can you please tell me few causes, natural causes first of all? Fine. Volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption that leads to accumulation of dust and gases in the atmosphere lead to formation of or lead to aerosol effect, and that aerosol effect leads to climate change. So, that occurs naturally. Next is fine, changes in solar output. Changes in solar output due to solar flare, the intensity of solar radiations increases, and when solar spot increases on solar surface, that leads to fall in the intensity of solar radiation. So, that also leads to changes in climatic conditions on the Earth's surface. Anything else? Thinning of clouds. See, it is not a cause of climate change. It is not a cause of climate change. We will be able to address climate change with the help of thinning of clouds, right? Because when we thin clouds, what happens? The terrestrial radiations which are trapped by clouds will move towards the space, and that will have a cooling effect. So, it is not a cause of climate change, it is a kind of solution, right? And it is called as geoengineering. It is called as geoengineering. Fine. Next cause of climate change. Changes in fine. Milankovitch oscillation. Milankovitch oscillation, that means changes in axial tilt of Earth, Milankovitch oscillation. Fine. Even changes in orbital eccentricity, because orbital eccentricity determines the shape of orbit. If orbital eccentricity changes, shape of orbit will also change, and that will have its impact on climatic conditions. Right? Any other? Even you can talk about plate tectonics. Right? Because plates are moving, and as a result of moving plates, if there is a substantial shift in the location of a particular region or particular plate, that will lead to changes in the climatic conditions, right? So, plate tectonics is also a reason. See, what is plate tectonics first of all? Movement of plates. So, India was there in the southern hemisphere earlier, Indian plate, right? So, that Indian plate moved to its current location. Fine. So, as a result of that, earlier glaciers were there in other parts of India as well. But today glaciers are restricted into, yes, and this is a regional factor. This is not a global factor. Whichever plate is moving, for that it will be a factor for climate change. Fine. So, these are certain natural reasons because of which climate changes on the earth's surface, right? But this natural climate change, as we have already discussed, takes time. It takes huge amount of time, and that's why species living on the earth's surface get enough time to adjust, and that's why it is not a threat. But on the other hand, anthropogenic climate change is a threat. And why it occurs? So it is the result of addition of greenhouse gases in the earth's atmosphere, and these greenhouse gases lead to intensification of greenhouse effect. It leads to intensification. They intensify greenhouse effect, and as a result of greenhouse effect, intensified greenhouse effect, we witness global warming. And this global warming leads to climate change. Global warming is a process that leads to climate change. Fine. So that is what is anthropogenic climate change, and anthropogenic climate change occurs in over a short time period, and as a result of that, it is a threat. It do not give enough time to species to adjust with the changing climatic conditions, and that's why it is a threat. Fine. So that is what is climate change. And then we have also talked about solutions related to climate change. There are two types of solutions for climate change: mitigation and adaptation, right? Mitigation means to reduce concentration of greenhouse gases, but in adaptation we do not reduce concentration of greenhouse gases, we adjust natural as well as human settings with respect to changing climatic conditions, right? So that is what is adaptation. Mitigation, on the other hand, tries to reduce greenhouse gases by use of, let's say, renewable energy. Fine. So that we have already discussed, and then there are efforts at the international level for the mitigation of climate change in the form of UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, under which two protocols are there, two important agreements are there. First is Kyoto, second is Paris. Cartagena is not a part of climate change, it is for biodiversity, it is under CBD. Fine. So let us come back to our discussion of these topics. So now we will be discussing about deep and shallow ecologism. Deep and shallow ecologism. Deep and shallow ecologism. So what is deep and shallow ecologism? First of all, ecologism means conservation of ecology, right? Conservation of environmental factors. But there are two schools of thoughts with respect to ecologism. First is shallow ecologism and second is deep ecologism. What does shallow ecologism says? It says that we should conserve ecology, we should conserve environmental factors because we are dependent on them, we use them. Fine. So that is what is shallow ecologism, which is also called as weak ecologism, right? So and as per weak ecologism, what we should do? We should only tweak certain uses of ecology. For example, as that example says, if we are using air conditioners, then we should make sure that we should use those air conditioners which are not leading to emission of CFCs. We should not stop using air conditioner, we should try to change the technology used in those air conditioners. That is the focus of shallow ecologism. But on the other hand, deep ecologism, what it says, deep ecologism says that it is our responsibility to ensure that climatic conditions or environmental degradation do not occur, and for that we should try to make substantial changes. Let's say if ACs are leading to degradation of environmental condition, we should make sure that ACs are not used, right? So that is what is the deep ecologism. It rejects shallow ecologism because it prioritizes humans above nature, but on the other hand, deep ecology gives priority to nature, right? So that is the difference between deep and shallow ecology. And one of the approach of deep ecology is that wealthier countries should play an important role in order to conserve environment. Why? Because the responsibility is with wealthier countries. It is they because of whom we are facing environmental degradation. Fine. So that is deep and shallow. Right. Next is zombie ice. Next topic is, sorry, ecosystem approach of conservation takes into account ecosystem as a center of conservation. It should not be human beings as a center of conservation. It is ecosystem as a center of conservation. Right. So you can relate it with deep ecology, deep ecologism. Fine. Next, zombie ice. So they have found some ice in Greenland which is considered as, which is called as zombie ice, or it is also called as dead or doomed ice. So this zombie ice is not accumulating new snow. It is not accumulating new snow, and that's why, as it is not accumulating new snow, it is bound to melt. It is bound to melt. It will not survive. Ultimately, it will lead to addition of water in sea, and that will lead to increase in the levels of sea. Fine. So that is what is zombie ice. Fine. And then there is a concept of medium density amorphous ice. Medium density amorphous ice. So what is this? So this is an important topic, medium density amorphous ice. You may write few points for this. There itself you can write 3 points. First, discovered in 2023. Medium density amorphous ice was discovered in 2023. Yes. It is created in a lab. It is created in a lab using a process called ball milling. Using a process called as ball milling. Ball milling. Next point. This new ice with unique properties is made by placing ordinary ice in a jar with some stainless steel balls. Which are then shaken. Those balls are then shaken. Sorry? With some stainless steel balls. Comma, which are then shaken and cooled to minus 200 degrees Celsius temperature. Fine. So this leads to formation of an amorphous ice. That means its shape will not be determined. Right? It will be having random shape. So that random shaped ice is called as medium density amorphous ice. It is not the natural, it is not like natural ice that we have during the process of, let's say, snowfall. Fine. So that is what is medium density amorphous. Amorphous means having random shapes. Defined shapes nahi honge usme. Right. Next now. See, they have carried out this experiment, and in that experiment they have found a new shape. There is no purpose as such of this medium density amorphous ice, but during the experiment they have found that different type of shapes are present in this particular ice. So no objective of this particular experiment. Next, 13th, climate reparations. Right, that is nothing but compensation. Right, and it is the principle of CBDR. Right? Pakistan has faced worst flooding, and in return, or due to those flooding, due to floods, it has undergone various losses, and it is demanding compensation from developed countries, because it is developed countries which have led to climatic change, and those climatic change conditions are leading to various climate induced disasters, which are in the form of increased events of flooding. Fine, and that's why Pakistan is demanding compensation from developed countries. So it is nothing but a principle of CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility. I hope you must be aware of this principle, CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility. It is followed under United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Can you give me examples when this principle is followed under CBDR, is followed under UNFCCC? First is Kyoto Protocol. If you see the provisions of Kyoto Protocol is only for developed countries, right? So CBDR principle is followed there, right? Secondly, developed countries have the responsibility to transfer finances and technology to developing countries. Fine. So that is also an example of common but differentiated responsibility. Fine. And how much they have promised? Right, $100 billion per year, and this will be deposited in Green Climate Fund, right? So we have discussed about Green Climate Fund, GCF. It is headquartered at Incheon, South Korea. Right? It is there at Incheon, South Korea. Fine. Nationally designated authority from India for GCF is MOEF and CC. Nationally designated authority. For GCF is MOEF and CC. That means which projects need to be funded, which projects should GCF fund, those will be decided by MOEF and CC, right? And there is one more term, National Implementing Entity, NIE. It is NABARD. National Implementing Entity for GCF is NIE is NABARD. Fine. So that is an important point. Next now, but you must be aware this is not met. They are not meeting the target of $100 billion annually. Next is Dovrak technique. So it is a technique for weather forecasting, and it was developed in 1969 by the scientist named Veron Dovrak, who passed away, and that's why this technique came into news. Not very important. Only understand that it is. Only remember that Dovrak is a technique for weather forecasting. Fine. Yes, they try to give information about tropical cyclones, and in order to give that information, they use images in the visible spectrum in the daytime, and in the night time they observe ocean in the infrared images or infrared radiations. Right? So not very significant. Only remember the name, and its relation is with forecasting of weather, primarily tropical cyclones. Next is environmental pollution. So under environmental pollution, first topic is related to microplastics. Microplastics. So what are microplastics? Fine, fine. So microplastics are the plastics whose diameter is less than 5 millimeters. Microplastics, right? Their diameter is less than 5 millimeters. Fine. And accidentally these microplastics enter into aquatic ecosystem, right? Earlier they were used in cosmetic products, but these days they are not used in cosmetic products. So that is one of the ways due to which aquatic ecosystem was getting microplastic through direct direct disposal of sewage wastewater into aquatic ecosystem, right? So that is one way of aquatic ecosystem getting exposed to microplastic. Second is when we dump normal plastic, when normal plastic is dumped in marine ecosystem or aquatic ecosystem, it undergoes the process of wear and tear, right? Due to the pressure of water body, it undergoes the process of wear and tear, and ultimately it gets converted into microplastics, right? So this microplastic is not produced by human beings directly, it is indirectly produced inside the aquatic ecosystem. But again, it is confused as a source of food by fishes, and that's why it is also a threat. Fine, because once it is consumed by fishes, it will be called as bioaccumulation or biomagnification. It is bioaccumulation, right? It is bioaccumulation. When it is transferred from fishes to other fishes, it will be bioaccumulation or magnification. It is magnification, right? So bioaccumulation is a function of time, and biomagnification is a function of trophic levels. Fine. So that is the threat associated with microplastics. Now there are certain measures taken by India in order to take care of plastic pollution. What are those measures? See, it is in the form of plastic waste management rules. It is in the form of plastic waste management rules. Plastic waste management rules. There are different years of it. There are different years of plastic waste management. Latest are plastic waste management 2021 and plastic waste management rules 2022, right? So under 2021, what we have done, we have banned single use plastic. When we banned it, single use plastic, from 1st January 2020, 1st July 2022. Single use plastic was banned from 1st July 2022, right, last year, and this was done under these rules. Fine. Also, these rules mandated that the thickness of plastic bags should go on increasing. And what is the thickness from 31st of December 2022? 120 micron cities. Fine. So that is related to rules of 2021. So these are the measures taken by India, and under 2022 rules we are primarily targeting plastic packaging waste. Plastic packaging waste, right? And in order to take care of plastic packaging waste, what we have allowed EPR certification. What is EPR? Extended Producer's Responsibility, right? So EPR certification has been allowed, wherein the producers, distributors of plastic packaging material will be having targets related to plastic waste management. If they exceed those targets, they will be getting EPR certificates. Those EPR certificates are tradable. They are tradable. Fine. So that is what is done under these rules, 2022's rules. Fine. So these measures we have taken, and then there is an initiative called as Unplastic Collective. Unplastic Collective. You may write few points for this. Unplastic Collective. So it is an initiative, as it is given, it is an initiative by UNEP, then Confederation of Indian Industries and WWF India, Worldwide Fund for Nature India. You may write few points for this. It seeks to minimize externalities of plastic on the ecological and social health of our planet. Second, it focuses on circular economy. And removing unnecessary plastic. In the long run. Comma, while using sustainable alternative materials. Which are hardly there, and even if they are there, they are costly. Bioplastic you must have heard about, right? A plastic made from organisms. It is called as bioplastic. Fine. So it is there, but it is costly, and that's why alternatives are hardly there, and that's why we are continuing our use of plastic. Fine. Next topic is World Oceans Day. So June 8 is celebrated as World Oceans Day to raise awareness about safeguarding oceans. Fine. And World Ocean Day 2022, its theme was revitalization, collective action for the ocean. Right? Not very important. But there are two important organizations mentioned in this topic. First is the Ocean Project. Not organizations. Yes, these are NGOs, not for profit organizations or non-governmental organizations. So the Ocean Project was established in 1997, and it is working in North America. The Ocean Project, established in 97, working in North America, and it tries to advance conservation of oceans. It works for the advancement of oceans conservation in collaboration with aquariums, zoos, museums, youth, etc. Right? So in collaboration with these, it is trying to ensure that there is conservation of oceans. And then there is World Ocean Network. So it is a not-for-profit organization based in France, established in 2002, and it works to promote sustainable use of oceans. Fine. So that is about this World Ocean Day, 8th June. Next point, third one now. Third is World Bank report on air pollution. right? So World Bank has given one report titled Striving for Clean Air, Air Pollution, Public Health in South Asia. So here they have identified 6 large areas which they call as air sheds, which if polluted, they will affect pollution in other air sheds as well, right? Even if, let's say, Delhi is cleared of pollution, it will be affected by pollution because of some other air sheds that are present in this particular region, right? And this report says that Punjab region of India gets pollution from the Punjab region of Pakistan. Bangladesh, its cities like Dhaka, Chittagong and all, they get polluted because of pollution coming from India, right? So that is what is the observation of this particular report. Even if, and that's why what it says that there is a need of collective action. Collective action is needed, otherwise the actions taken individually won't help us to reduce pollution. Fine. So that is what is the observation. Next, this report highlights that though industries, power plants and vehicular emissions are primary pollutants in most of the parts of world, in this part of world they are there, but along with that there are certain other factors as well. Which are those factors? But in South Asia, other sources make substantial additional contributions, like combustion of solid fuel for cooking and heating, emissions from small industries like brick kilns, and burning of municipal and agricultural waste, as well as cremation practices, right? So those sources are there, vehicles, industries and power plants, they are emitters, but along with them these are also additional emitters, additional sources of pollution for South Asia. Fine. Next is pharmaceutical pollution. Pharmaceutical pollution. So pharmaceutical pollution is a form of water pollution, right? It is a form of water pollution because pharmaceutical industries use chemicals, and as they use chemicals they generate lots of industrial effluents, and those industrial effluents, if not treated and if put directly in the water bodies, it will lead to pollution. And one of the most important threats that pharmaceutical wastewater poses is in the form of that will be there. It may lead to eutrophication because wastewater coming from pharmaceutical industries may have the presence of nutrients. So that is there. Apart from that, there is an important threat from pharmaceutical wastewater, that is in the form of not medical waste exactly, antimicrobial resistance, right? It may lead to antimicrobial resistance. Why? Because the chemicals used in pharmaceutical industry, traces of those chemicals will be there in their wastewater, and wastewater, if that wastewater is dumped into nearby water body, microorganisms present in that water body will be exposed to those chemicals, and if those chemicals are not able to kill those microorganisms completely, those microorganisms will develop resistance, and that is what is antimicrobial resistance, which is a threat from pharmaceutical pollution. Fine. So what is API? Because this article says that almost half or approximately 43% of world's rivers are contaminated by active pharmaceutical ingredients, right? So active pharmaceutical ingredients are the main ingredients of pharmaceutical industry. The benefits that we receive from medicines is the result of use of API, active pharmaceutical ingredients. And you must be aware, in India we are dependent on API on China. Fine. So what government has done in order to address pharmaceutical pollution? See, there are no specific solutions. There are no there will be rules, that national rules for pharmaceutical pollution management. No, such kind of rules are not there, right? Because we have discussed that there is only one holistic approach followed for tackling water pollution, and that is in the form of the Water Act, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. 1974. Under that Water Act, we try to maintain wholesomeness of water, be it in streams, be it in wells. Its wholesomeness, its quality should be maintained. Right? So that is what is Water Act. So there is no specific solution for pharmaceutical pollution. But what government has done, government in 2017 has given action plan for antimicrobial resistance, and that action plan was based on WHO's guidelines to member countries. Fine. So under this approach, under this action plan, we are trying to tackle antimicrobial resistance. And how do we do that? How do we do that? What does these guidelines say? These guidelines say that carry out surveillance, because first of all we will have to establish, are we suffering from the antimicrobial resistance? If yes, what is the extent of it? That is first approach. Secondly, it says that we will have to reduce non-therapeutic use of pharmaceutical drugs. Why? Because pharmaceutical or drugs are used in animal husbandry for increasing production, right? And that also leads to antimicrobial resistance, because the traces of those drugs will be there in milk, it will be there in the meat, and that will be passed on to human beings. And bacteria or microbes in human gut will be exposed to those chemicals. They will develop resistance, leading to antimicrobial resistance. Fine. And that's why we'll have to reduce non-therapeutic use of drugs. Yes, there are many reasons of AMR, many reasons. First is overuse of medicines leads to AMR. Even underuse of medicines leads to AMR. Right? Not only overuse, underuse. Let's say you are given a prescription of 5 days. Someone is given a prescription of 5 days. If that person feels better after 3 days, that person will stop taking medicines for 4th and 5th day. So that is a misuse, that is an underuse of medicines leading to antimicrobial resistance. Fine. Many reasons are there. Right? Other reasons are used in animal husbandry. Next is pharmaceutical pollution. Right? One more is use of lack of proper care in the hospitals. Right? When hospital settings do not prevent infection, let's say someone is admitted in hospital and that person is suffering from, let us consider multi-drug resistant TB, MDR TB. Right? If that person leads to infection, that person will not transmit normal TB, that person will transmit MDR TB only. So in hospitals also, if we do not take care to prevent infection, it will lead to infections, and these infections are called as hospital acquired infections. Fine. And often when antimicrobial resistance increase in various microbes, it leads to formation of a superbug. It leads to formation of superbug for which we do not have any chemical to treat. Fine. Next. What is a biological drug? Where it is? The active ingredient in a biological drug used is called bulk process intermediate. Biological drugs means those drugs where you are using, let's say vaccine. Vaccine is a kind of biological drug where weakened form of microbes are used. Fine. Next now. Next is CCUS policy framework and its deployment. First of all, what is CCUS? Fine. Carbon capture utilization and storage policy framework given by Niti Aayog. Why it is important? Why it is important? Because countries have came up with net zero targets. right? In order to achieve net zero targets, we need carbon capture, utilization and storage policy. Why? Because net zero does not mean that we will stop using fossil fuels and we will stop emitting carbon or other greenhouse gases. But we will have a technology which will absorb, which will take these pollutants from flue gas or from atmosphere. It will be converted into various forms and it will be stored in various reservoirs, right? That is what is carbon capture and utilization. Do we or can we use captured carbon dioxide in some industries, or is there any use of carbon captured? Where? Cement industry. Fine, right? So we can produce bicarbonates. With the captured CO2, we can use it in bicarbonates industry, and those bicarbonates industries, that bicarbonate industry feeds industries like cement industry. Fine, so there is utilization of this captured carbon dioxide. Fine. Next. So what does this policy says? Okay, this topic is only about carbon capture, utilization and storage. So we have discussed that. Next now. So CCUS will help various countries achieve their net zero targets, net zero emission targets. Next, forever chemicals. So there are some chemicals called as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAs. They are forever chemicals because they remain in their original form. They just migrate from soil to water and then to air, right? They remain in their original form. They are not broken down and thus they have long shelf life. Where do we use these PFAs? Fine, non-stick cookwares. PFAs are used in non-stick cookwares, carpets, firefighting foams and even in clothing industry, right? They are used in non-stick cookwares, carpets, firefighting foams and clothing industry. Fine, and as they are not broken down, they lead to bioaccumulation, and if transferred to other organisms, it leads to biomagnification as well. Fine. Next now. Next, banning single-use plastic. So we have already discussed this. Single-use plastic is banned from 1st July 2022. Under which rules? Rules 2021. Next. So what is the status? As per the Minderloo Foundation report, single-use plastic account for third of all plastic generated produced globally, with 98% manufactured from fossil fuels. Fine. And India is at the rank of 94. So we are not a major producer of single-use plastic. And per capita generation in India is only 4 kilograms. Fine. In India, only 4 kilograms per person single-use plastic is generated annually. And mostly this single-use plastic is used for packaging. Fine. So are there any other countries who are taking measures against single-use plastic? Yes, there are. Bangladesh, it became first country to ban thin plastic bags in 2002 itself. Bangladesh was the first country to ban it in 2002. Fine. China has also issued ban on plastic bags from 2020, year 2020. And in EU bans certain single-use plastics for which alternatives are available. Not all single-use plastic, only for those single-use plastic for which there is alternative. Fine. So there are countries which are taking action. Next now, green hydrogen. Do we need to discuss it? We have already discussed green hydrogen, right? Green hydrogen is the result of electrolysis of water from renewable sources of energy. And there is a mission called as green hydrogen mission. And why it is important, green hydrogen? Because we have set the targets under our Panchamrit. Which are those targets? 500 gigawatts of energy by 2030 will be generated from non-fossil sources. 50% of our energy by 2030 will come from renewable energy sources. Carbon emission intensity will decrease by 45% by 2030, right? What is carbon emission intensity? It is carbon emitted for 1% of GDP. 1%, if we want to achieve 1% growth in GDP, how much emissions we incur to achieve that GDP is what? Carbon emission intensity. Now, one point I want to highlight here that, see, in order to achieve carbon emission intensity, in order to reduce carbon emission intensity, one organization will be playing an important role. Can you please tell me? In India, one important organization will help us reduce carbon emission intensity. It is Bureau of Energy Efficiency, right? Bureau of Energy Efficiency, it works for achieving energy efficiency potential. It works for energy efficiency potential. And if we want to achieve energy efficiency potential, we'll have to reduce our energy intensity. Fine. Next now. So, third last point in this topic is, in April 2022, the public sector Oil India Limited set up India's first 99.99% pure green hydrogen pilot plant, in keeping with the goal of making country ready for pilot scale production of hydrogen, right? So, OIL has developed one plant where they are producing pure green hydrogen, right? So, उसमें भी categories होगी, pure, impure, green hydrogen and all. Next now, bioenergy crops can induce a cooling effect on the areas. Bioenergy crops can produce a cooling effect. Fine. So, as per this topic, crops which can be used for the production of biofuels, like wheat, corn, sugarcane, edible oils, oil seeds and all, they burn cleaner and emit fewer pollutants. So, the fuel produced from them burn cleaner and emits fewer pollutants. So, and that is why they help us reduce pollution, right? See, it is not that bioenergy crops are leading to cooling effects, it is biofuels that is leading to cooling effects. Why? Because it leads to generation of lesser amount of pollutants, right? What? Green manure means? Okay, that question. So, see, those plants where these bacteria like rhizobium can form association with, they can be used as green manure, right? What is green manure? Green manure means such crops which will help us in improving nutrient availability in soil, right? So, those crops which are able to form symbiotic association with bacteria like rhizobium, they can be used as green manures. So, which will be those crops? They will be like leguminous plants like pulses, right? Alfalfa, which is a grass, then kidney beans, right? Then cow beans. So, all those crops will help us in increasing the levels of nitrogen, and thus they are green manure. See, primarily it is nitrogen fixing, because plants form association with those bacteria, or those bacteria can live in the root nodules of these plants, and that is why it is more about nitrogen fixation, right? And if you go through that question, they have talked about nitrogen fixation only. Only one crop was not there. I am not able to recollect its name. I think 2022's question it is, right? Next now, Global Treaty to Cut Plastic Production. Global Treaty to Cut Plastic Production. So this treaty was the result of United Nations Environment Assembly, which was hosted by UNEP. UNEP hosted one assembly, and as a result of that, there was a treaty that that was drafted. Fine. So what this treaty says? This treaty says that there is urgent need to eliminate the discharge of plastics into the environment. For this, the plastic production should be phased down to sustainable levels in the alignment with SDG goal number 12. What is SDG goal number 12? Sustainable consumption and production patterns. Sustainable consumption and production patterns. So plastic production, if it is not sustainable, then we should reduce it. That is what is the focus of these goals. One more, it also talks about promoting upscaling of reuse, refill and traditional packaging systems tailored to national context. Right? For example, in India we can use jute bags instead of plastic bags. Right? And it also asking us to promote circular economy. Fine. Next now. So last 3 points are out of context for this particular topic. Next, plastic park. So there are plastic parks that have been formed or that have been approved by Government of India under Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, and these plastic parks will have ecosystem with infrastructure building and enabling the common facility to consolidate and synergize the capacity of domestic plastic processing industry. That means what these plastic parks will be doing, they will be reusing plastic. Right? There will be ecosystem, there will be infrastructure which will make sure that plastic produced is reused. Right? That means through these plastic parks we are trying to promote circular economy for plastic. Right? And these plastic parks are there at Assam, in Assam, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu. And out of them, one park has started functioning. It is there in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Next now, solar waste. Right? So there is no perfect solution to any problem. We are trying to generate renewable energy using solar panels, but solar panels, once they go out of service, they become a part of e-waste. They become a part of e-waste or electronic waste. Fine. And you must be aware, unfortunately, we do not have a perfect solution for handling electronic waste. Electronic waste we cannot handle perfectly. Right. Next. So how much fine, next, VOCs, volatile organic compounds, VOCs, and this is a favorite topic of UPSC as well. Right? Last year there was a question in mains 2022 about, not VOCs, about photochemical smog. Photochemical smog. And photochemical smog, as you must be aware, is a secondary pollutant. Photochemical smog is a secondary pollutant which is formed as a result of reaction between nitrogen oxides and VOCs in the presence of sunlight. In the presence of sunlight. Right? And that's why it is also called as summer smog. That's why it is also called as, this photochemical smog is also called as summer smog. And one of the important components of photochemical smog is ozone, ground level ozone. Fine?
So does CNG, usage of CNG and LPG leads to zero emission of gases?
Sorry?
Combustion of CNG and LPG, does it lead to zero emission?
No, they are fossil fuels. They are fossil fuels, but comparatively they are cleaner. Comparatively they are cleaner. Fine? Next. So you must be aware of sources of VOCs. VOCs are both indoor as well as outdoor pollutants. Indoor sources of VOCs are paints, varnishes, deodorants, right? Then various adhesives that we use, cleansers that we use, right? Even printers in our houses, those printers also lead to emission of VOCs. Fine. And then outdoor sources are tobacco smoking, which can be indoor, but it can be treated outdoor, right? So tobacco smoking, use of gasoline is also a source of VOCs. Next now, nanoplastics. So the researchers have analyzed light breaks down from polystyrene, which is a non-biodegradable plastic, and this is the result of nanoplastic present in polystyrene. Right, and these nanoplastics are not intentionally produced, they are unintentionally produced, and their size varies between 1 to 1000 nanometers. Fine. Next now, mercury pollution. So do we have mercury present in nature naturally? Yes, it is an element. So it is present naturally, right? So only what human beings do. Human beings use mercury, and the mercury is not taken care of properly, and that leads to addition of mercury to different sources, like let's say water bodies, leading to exposure of fishes or other aquatic organisms to this mercury. Fine. And then from fishes it enters into the body of human beings, right? And the most dangerous form of mercury to which human beings are exposed to is methyl mercury. It is a neurotoxicant. It can lead to damages to development of brain. Fine. And then there is a Minamata Convention to take care of mercury, to reduce use of mercury, to reduce emissions and release of mercury, and thereby generate public awareness. Right. So Minamata Convention was adopted in 2013 and it entered into force in 2017. Is India a member of Minamata? Have we ratified it? Yes, we have. In 2018, we have ratified Minamata Convention. Fine. Mercury leads to Minamata disease. Next now, Sujlam 2.0 campaign. So what is Sujlam 2.0 campaign? Fine. Reuse of household wastewater. And it was started by Ministry of Jal Shakti. So what is Sujlam 2.0 grey water recycling project? So it focuses on creation of institutional level grey water management. So this household wastewater is also called as grey water. And in this Sujlam 2.0, there will be institutional mechanism created for grey water management in panchayats, healthcare facilities, schools, Anganwadi centers and community centers. Fine. And in Sujlam 1.0, which was started in 2021, more than 1 million soak pits were built in order to take care of grey waste generated out of households, right, in Sujlam 1.0. So it is Sujlam 2.0 is a follow-up project of Sujlam 1.0. Fine. So what are the other initiatives related to water management? First is Jal Shakti Abhiyan. What is that? Jal Shakti. Jal Shakti Abhiyan. It will cover water stressed district, but what it is? It is supply of piped drinking water. It is supply of piped drinking water, right? So it is. It was launched in 2019 by Ministry of Jal Shakti. Next is Atal Bhujal. Atal Bhujal. Atal Bhujal Yojana launched in 2019, where people prepare their water security plan, how they will receive water, what amount of water they consume, what are the water conservation methods that are followed in their area. Those kind of initiatives, those kind of actions will be framed in a plan prepared by people of a particular area under Atal Bhujal Yojana. Fine. Next now, lead poisoning. Lead. So it is an important pollutant, lead. Can you please tell me the sources of lead? How lead pollution can occur? Sorry? Fine, paint industry. Paint industry is one of the source. Anything else? Lead acid batteries. Lead acid batteries also lead to emission of lead. Anything else? See, earlier unleaded petrol was also the source, but it is not a source now. Unleaded petrol was the source of lead pollution earlier. It is for groundwater only. As name suggests, it is. Fine. Yes, mercury, primarily mercury, you must be aware, in 2016, e-waste management rules were amended, wherein we treated, the government said that CFL and other lights where mercury is used will be considered as a part of electronic waste. So yes, mercury is emitted from those sources. Fine. Next now. So what is the impact of lead poisoning? Can you please tell me? The most important impact. It affects central nervous system. It affects central nervous system and thus cognitive abilities, primarily in children. Cognitive abilities are affected because of lead pollution in children. Blue baby syndrome is of nitrate, right? It is nitrate pollution. Itai is of, no, Itai is of cadmium, I think. It's cadmium, it's not mercury. Mercury is Minamata. Fine, next now. Declining nitrogen levels. Now this is a concern, right? Because you must be aware of biogeochemical cycles. What do they say? What are biogeochemical cycles? Fine. So biogeochemical cycles are also called as nutrient cycles, right? This is one of the important topics under ecosystem, nutrient cycling. Yes. So we have nutrients present in abiotic components of the environment. From these abiotic components, nutrients flow towards biotic components. Yes or no? Right? So once they use it, once nutrients flow towards biotic components and once they use it, these nutrients should be restored. And that's an important function because in abiotic components, there is no additional source of nutrients. Whatever nutrients are there, those nutrients will be cycled in the environment from abiotic to biotic and from biotic to abiotic again. If there is any disturbance in this, it will lead to lack of availability of nutrients. And as per this article, it is happening, right? Availability of nitrogen is falling, because you must be aware almost 78% of atmospheric gases is nitrogen, fine, but its availability is falling because of various reasons. So as per this article, there are reports that nitrogen levels are declining in nitrogen rich world, and plants and animals may face consequences. Why? Because we need nitrogen for the production of amino acids, which are a raw material for proteins. Fine. Can you please tell me the processes involved in nitrogen cycle? Processes involved in nitrogen cycle. First, nitrogen fixation. First is fixation, right? Nitrogen fixation. And you must be aware nitrogen fixation occurs through various processes like natural processes, climatic processes like lightning and thunder. Second, bacterial activities. As we have already discussed, bacteria like rhizobium, they live in association with root nodule plants, and that lead to fixation of nitrogen. And apart from that, there are freely living bacteria also. Example, freely living bacteria, example, Azotobacter. Any other? Even cyanobacteria, in aquatic ecosystem, even cyanobacteria, and even Clostridium. Clostridium is anaerobic in nature. And third is industrial. Sorry? It is pathogenic. It does produces toxics. It does produces toxin materials, but at the same time it also leads to fixation of nitrogen. Fine. Industrial processes like production of nitrogenous fertilizers. These processes are also called as industrial processes are also called as Haber-Bosch processes. Haber-Bosch. Fine. So first is nitrogen fixation, first step. Once nitrogen is fixed, it will be fixed in the form of ammonia, right? That means with nitrogen fixation, ammonia is available. This ammonia will be converted into nitrites and nitrates through the process of nitrification. Once nitrification has occurred, there will be assimilation. Fine. Assimilation means to use nitrogen for various biochemicals, for the formation of various biochemicals like DNAs, RNAs, amino acids, etc. Fourth, nitrogen fixation के बाद assimilation लिखा है. No, nitrification will occur. Fine. Next, there will be, after assimilation, next process is, it will be denitrification. So after assimilation, there is ammonification, then denitrification. Ammonification. Wherein what will happen in ammonification? The excretory matter or dead organic matter will lead to will lead to emission of, will be acted upon by microbes like Pseudomonas, and it will be converted into ammonia. And then comes denitrification. And then it is denitrification. So these are the processes involved in nitrogen cycle. Fine. Next now. Next. Next is carbon sequestration. So do we need to discuss it again? So what is carbon sequestration? Just we'll discuss the processes involved. Carbon sequestration, it is capturing, transporting and long-term storage of carbon dioxide so that it do not leak into the atmosphere. Fine. So that is what is carbon sequestration, and it occurs through various ways. First is geologic sequestration. Geologic sequestration. What we do under geologic sequestration? The captured carbon dioxide will be stored in natural fissures of rocks, unused mines, coal seams, etc. Right, there we will be storing carbon dioxide. Next is oceanic. We are coming to it. Oceanic sequestration. What we do in oceanic sequestration? The carbon captured will be converted into liquid form and it will be injected directly in oceans, right? But these are not very appropriate ways of addressing carbon dioxide. Why? Because carbon dioxide stored in geologic sequestration may leak into the environment. And oceanic sequestration, if we carry out oceanic sequestration, there are consequences like acidification. Ocean acidification will occur. Ocean acidification, and along with that, it may also lead to excessive growth of phytoplanktons, which is a kind of interference in the nature, right? And that's why these are not very appropriate measures. But third one is terrestrial sequestration. Terrestrial sequestration, right? So what we do under terrestrial sequestration, we carry out afforestation. And as a result of afforestation, we ensure that carbon dioxide is stored in trees as well as in soil. Fine. So this is more favored way of treating or handling carbon dioxide.
So National Forest Policy 1988 says that afforestation and conversion into wastelands. मतलब promotion of wastelands कैसे काम करता है conservation में समझिए.
Promotion of wasteland. Wasteland will be utilized to bring those lands under forest, right? Wasteland, if it is wasteland, we will use it for example, joint forest management. There will be collaboration between forest department and local community, so that land is brought under forest. Next is biofuels, and here in the diagram you can see algae is used to derive biofuels. So once algae has been harvested, it can be dewatered. If you dewater it, you will be able to get the liquid form, and that liquid form derived from algae is called as algae oil, and that algae oil can be used for the production of biodiesel, right? And whatever is left, whatever algae biomass is left after dewatering, that can also be used for the production of biofuels, right? So both the elements that you are deriving from algae, that means algae oil, and the biomass of oil can be used for the production of biofuels or biodiesel. Fine. and Reliance Industry has been successfully running a large algae raceway ponds in the last 5 years, and they have ensured that there is conversion of sunshine, CO2 and seawater into bio oil. That means they are cultivating algae with the help of carbon dioxide, sunshine and water, seawater, and those algae they are using for the production of biodiesel or biofuels. Fine. And this conversion of algae into biofuels occur with the help of a process called as catalytic hydrothermal liquefaction technology, where water is used as a solvent under high temperature and high pressure to extract oil from biomass. Right. So when you dewater algae, that algae oil will be used for the production of biodiesel. That is done. Now you will be left with algae biomass. In that algae biomass, you will be mixing water as a solvent, and you will use high temperature, high pressure conditions to convert that algae biomass even into biodiesel. Right. And the process is called as catalytic hydrothermal liquefaction technology, where water is used as a kind of catalyst. Fine. Next now. Next is coal gasification. Coal gasification. So the Ministry of Coal has prepared national mission document to achieve 100 million tons of coal gasification by 2030. So coal gasification target is 100 million tons by 2030. What is coal gasification? It is a process in which coal is partially oxidized with air, steam or carbon dioxide to form fuel gas. Right? Partial oxidation of coal at high temperature using carbon dioxide is known as coal gasification. Steam or carbon dioxide, not only water vapor, but you can even use steam for this process. Fine. So with the coal gasification, what we are able to do, we are able to convert coal into gas fuel, or in the solid coal will be converted into gaseous fuel. Fine. This gas is then used instead of piped natural gas, methane and others for deriving energy. Right. So here in coal gasification, what you do, you convert coal into gaseous fuel, which can help us replace methane, piped natural gas, etc. Next, in situ gasification of coal or underground coal gasification. What is this in situ gasification? That means where coal is available, there only will be carrying out the process of gasification, will not extract it and will not carry out gasification. Where it is available naturally, at that site only will be carrying out the process of gasification. So that is what is in situ gasification. Fine. And the gas that we will be able to produce after this will be is called as syngas, which is a mixture of methane, carbon monoxide, hydrogen, carbon dioxide and water vapor as well. Fine. So that is what is coal gasification. Next is hydrogen economy. So what is hydrogen economy? Where hydrogen will be a fuel that will drive economic activities, that will be hydrogen economy. So with the help of National Green Hydrogen Mission, we will be able to move towards green, or will be able to move towards hydrogen economy. Fine. Next is biomass co-firing.
Gasification can also be a method to produce hydrogen. This method can also be used to produce hydrogen. जैसे hydrogen use कर रहे हैं, वैसे ये method से भी hydrogen.
Coal gasification से. See, coal gasification's ultimate result is what? It is a gas, right? That gas you can use for producing electricity. That electricity you can use for electrolysis of water, right? So indirectly you can use it, but that gas will not be that hydrogen will not be a green hydrogen in that case.
In this case also, if they are releasing hydrogen, that
See, here whether it will be available in large amounts or not, because here again it is a mixture of methane, carbon monoxide and all those gases, even hydrogen. So here amount of hydrogen that you need, whether you will be able to get that much amount of hydrogen or not, that is a question, right? So in the production of hydrogen, we will be using processes in order to produce hydrogen which can be used for replacing our let's say fossil fuels, right? Amount of hydrogen will be the concern here, right? So it can be used, coal gasification technique can be used to produce hydrogen, but it will be called as not blue, gray it will be. Blue is when you are using natural gas and you are using CCS, carbon capture and storage. Yes.
Coal gasification, biomass gasification, these two are same things or different?
Coal gas.
Coal gasification and biomass gasification. Biomass gasification UPSC asks.
See, biomass, what is biomass? Biomass is dead organic matter, right? Or organic matter will be considered as biomass. So, biomass undergoes the process of fossilization, and that process of fossilization will lead to formation of coal, right? So, these are different things. No, they are not same. They are not same.
How much time it will take India to transform their vehicle dependent upon these technology like hydrogen or other fossil fuels like biogas? अभी तो वही dependent है अपना
See, it will obviously it will be taking certain amount of time, but we have started movement towards it, right? We have started use of electric vehicles. We in future, if we start let's say production of green hydrogen, we will have such vehicles which will be using green hydrogen as a fuel. Obviously, it will take certain amount of time. It will not be a process which will occur in swift manner, right? And obviously, it will lead to disruption in industry. Yes, right. Which process is expensive? Obviously, coal gasification will be expensive. See, because you do not have natural gas in abundance, right? Coal is there in abundance. Natural gas is also there, but its amount is limited. In India, we are fourth largest. We have fourth largest reserves of coal. So for that, we can use it, right?
when we have found the lithium field in Jammu Kashmir, can we predict that in future we can extract those lithium and make out the batteries?
See, right now, yes, they have found some amount of lithium in Jammu and Kashmir, but they say that they'll have to carry out more research on that, whether it can be used for substitution. It can be used as a substitution for the imported lithium. See, if we are able to use that lithium, we'll be able to produce more batteries, lithium ion batteries in India. So, we'll not be dependent on other countries, right? So, our motive behind use of green hydrogen, behind use of renewable energy is to achieve energy security, right? If we start moving towards electric vehicles and if electric batteries are being produced on the basis of lithium imported, so that is not energy security, right? So this will help us achieve, this lithium that we have found will help us achieve energy security, which is the prime motive of government. Fine.
Ola and all, they are producing vehicles like which are dependent upon these technology, and they are putting the battery store on the location of Chaiwala and stores on the Bangalore. The Bangalore look, they have already planted this. If we are also lacking in Delhi, Delhi तो भी है, time लग रहा है. It will take some
Infrastructure.
time. Infrastructure.
See, and that's why we are moving slowly and steadily, right? With slow and steady movement, we'll be able to come up with the infrastructure that we need for charging these electric vehicles, right? So that is there in policy, that we will achieve the movement towards electric vehicles with the upgradation of infrastructure, with the upgradation of ecosystem that we have. right. So, that will not be a sudden process, it will happen gradually only, fine. Next is biomass co-firing, biomass co-firing. So, what is biomass co-firing? It is use of biomass pellets in thermal power plants, use of biomass pellets in thermal power plants. And from where these biomass pellets will be coming? It will be coming from stubble, right, because stubble, when we burn, it is mere burning of stubble. When we burn those stubble in thermal power plants, it will help us derive energy, and that is what is called as biomass co-firing. It is an initiative of Ministry of Power, wherein target was 5% biomass co-firing by 2022. By 2022. Yes, and that's why they carry out stubble burning. One of the objectives is to make crop ready for next crop in a short amount of time, and also it enriches soil. Right. Next, ocean's great dying. Ocean's great dying. That means it is a mass annihilation of marine species, and that's why it is also considered as a kind of mass extinction. And why this is happening? Because global ocean temperatures are increasing. As we have highlighted yesterday, IPCC in its special report on oceans and cryosphere has said that more than 90% of heat energy is getting absorbed in oceans, leading to increased temperatures of oceans. And as we have discussed yesterday, oceanic organisms are stenothermal. Right? So, this topic we have already discussed. Next now, groundwater contamination. Groundwater contamination. So, in India, our dependence on groundwater is too much, but due to increased population, increased use of groundwater, we are going too deep inside the ground, and as we go too deep inside the ground, groundwater that we are able to extract will be polluted groundwater, right? And what are the pollutants that are present in groundwater? Arsenic, fluoride, iron, uranium, nitrate, these kind of pollutants are there. Fine. So, arsenic pollution is primarily there in the eastern parts of India. West Bengal, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Assam, parts of Uttar Pradesh are polluted with arsenic. Fine. What is the permissible level? Permissible level is 1.5 parts per million per liter, ppm per liter. Fluoride. Fluoride, its pollution is there in many parts, many states of India. So, what is the health impact of arsenic? What is the health impact of arsenic? What is the health impact of arsenic? It leads to arsenic poisoning, and it can be carcinogenic as well. Next, fluoride. Fluoride. What is the permissible level of fluoride? It is 1.5 milligrams per liter. It is 1.5 mg per liter. No, that is incorrect. 1.5 mg per liter. And what is the health impact of fluoride? It leads to fluorosis. It leads to fluorosis. And also Knockney syndrome. Right. Next, iron. So, what is the permissible level of iron? It is 1 milligrams per liter. 1 milligrams per liter. Next, uranium. It's 30 milligrams per liter. Yes. Micrograms. Uranium. Nitrate. It's 45 ppm per liter. 45 ppm. And what is the health impact of nitrate? Blue baby syndrome. Blue baby syndrome. Radium. Natural radioactivity of radium leads to emission of radon gas. Right. Next now, Shunya campaign. Shunya campaign. So, what is Shunya campaign? It is zero pollution through electric mobility, and it is a campaign of Niti Aayog and RMI. What is RMI? It is Rocky Mountain Institute based in USA. To raise, and its goal is to raise awareness about use of electric vehicles amongst consumers, not only for mobility but also for delivery. Right? This campaign also tries to promote electric vehicles for delivery system as well, delivery of goods and all. Right? By? See, it is already provided, so there is no separate subsidy under Shunya campaign. They will be creating, let's say, awareness amongst people to use more electric vehicles so that they can also contribute to reduction in the environmental degradation. So that is the prime. So it is a campaign, right? It is a campaign, and that's why it will be awareness generation.
So the electronic vehicle which have less than 125 watt motor, for this there is no requirement of the driving license as well as insurance. So the cost of vehicle is very less. So it will lead to the promotion of the electronic vehicles.
And that's why most of the electric vehicles that are used in delivery, they have that capacity. Right. Next, shallow water mining. So it was said that instead of mining on terrestrial locations or instead of carrying out deep seafloor mining, we should carry out shallow water mining. But as per the latest researches, it is said that it is also harmful. Right. So what is shallow water mining? It is the mining which is carried out at the depth of less than 200 meters, and it has been touted as less destructive than terrestrial mining and less risky than deep water ecosystem, but it is not so. It is also equally dangerous or it also leads to environmental degradation. Fine, it has severe environmental risk. And it is already underway in countries like Namibia, Indonesia, and also it is proposed in Mexico, New Zealand and Sweden.
So now the river sand mining leads to the lowering of groundwater table.
River sand mining leads to lowering of? Because if sand is not there, then it will, means water availability, water will not percolate. Right, there may be a parent rock that will be there, and that's why water may flow. Right, so if sand is there, it will allow percolation of water, which may lead to increase in the groundwater. Fine. Next, fly ash. So fly ash is a term used for. It is a term used for particulate matters primarily emitted from thermal power plants. Right. So fly ash, as it is a particulate matter, it is a threat because it can settle in the lungs of human beings, animals, etc. It can also settle on the leaves, affecting photosynthesis by plants. But at the same time, if we are able to take care of, if we are able to collect fly ash, it can be used for various purposes. Like, it can be used for wasteland, means to ensure that wasteland is again brought back in use, right? Reclamation of wasteland can be done using fly ash. It can also be used in bricks making. See, suppose there is a land which is uneven. You can put fly ash in that particular land, and you can carry out the leveling of that particular land. Right? And as fly ash also consists of various kinds of nutrient, it may help that particular land. See, it will not. Why? Because fly ash is made up of various kinds of oxides, right? Oxides of silica, oxides of calcium, magnesium and all. But apart from these oxides, it also consists of toxic materials, and that's why generally its use is there for making of bricks, right? And apart from that, even to avoid roof collapse in unused mine, we can fill that mine using fly ash. Yes, oxides of silica, calcium are there, right. Next, so how it is managed? It is managed for the reclamation of degraded land and at the same time for making bricks. Fine. Next now. Next is light pollution. Now this topic is important, light pollution, because you must be aware of Indian Astronomical Observatory established at Hanle in Ladakh, right. So you may write few points for Indian Astronomical Observatory. Indian Astronomical Observatory at Hanle. Established in 2001, operated by Indian Institute of Astrophysics. Indian Institute of Astrophysics, headquartered at Bengaluru. Indian Institute of Astrophysics, headquartered at Bengaluru. Next point. It is one of the world's highest located sites. For optical, infrared and gamma ray telescope. Optical, infrared and gamma ray telescope. Next point. It is India's first, this is important, it is India's first dark sky preserve. Dark sky preserve. Dark sky preserve. That means here artificial light is not allowed. Use of artificial light is not allowed in this particular region. Fine. Hanle Dark Sky Reserve. It is the area free from light pollution. So what are the consequences of light pollution? It affects the cone cells of our eyes. There are two types of cells, cone cells and rod cells. So those out of that, cone cells are affected because of light pollution, and it also has its impact on wildlife and disruption of ecosystem, and thus, and one more, it leads to energy wastage. Fine. So these are the consequences of light pollution. Next now, green methanol. Sorry? Where it is?
Experiences a level of sky glow that keeps the Milky Way out of the sight.
Sky glow, that means sky will be illuminated excessively, and as a result of that we won't be able to see the other stars, the planets that we can see using telescopes and all, or using our naked eyes, right. So if sky glow is there, that means excessive illumination will be there, and as a result of that, for example, if you stand on road, let's say during night, and if you try to see sky, you won't be able to see stars. That does not mean that they are not there, but it is because of sky glow we are not able to see them. Fine. Next is green methanol. Green methanol. So NTPC has partnered with one of the organizations, one of the companies in Italy known as Technimount, to explore green methanol production at a commercial scale. Right. So what is green methanol? It is methanol produced from renewable energy. It is methanol produced from renewable energy, from biomass, Fine. So, similar to green hydrogen, we have green methanol, but green hydrogen is produced from electrolysis of water. This is used from biomass using renewable sources of energy, and that is why it is called as green methanol. One term is there, it is torrefied biomass, right. So, for that you can write in bracket torrefaction of biomass, because in 1 year they have asked question pyrolysis and plasma gasification, sometimes seen in the news, are term related to which of the following. Fine. So, torrefaction of biomass is a mild form of pyrolysis, at temperature between 200 to 320 degrees Celsius. At temperature between 200 to 320 degrees Celsius. It changes biomass properties, torrefaction. It changes biomass properties to provide a better fuel quality for combustion. Better fuel quality from combustion. Fine. And this torrefied biomass is then used for deriving green methanol. Fine. And there are other terms as well. There is grey methanol, where we are using coal without CCS, and in blue methanol we are using coal or natural gas, but at the same time we are using CCS. Fine. So, that is about this. Next, now conservation. So, first topic is related to Joshimath. So, you must be aware of the things that have happened in Joshimath. So, what has happened in Joshimath? It is sinking of land in Joshimath. So, why it has happened? Sorry? Unsustainable development. Fine, but that is the conclusion that you should write, right? Due to unsustainable development in different parts of India, we are witnessing these kind of instances. But in body, what you will write?
It is ecological sensitive zone, and we have seen Kerala case has already happened. Still, people are not aware. We are facing these kind of issues.
So, what are the causes of this land subsidence in Joshimath? Fine, it is already a fragile zone, so that you can write, fine. But what are the exact reasons? First is, see, Joshimath is placed on debris of landslide. Right? In the historic past, landslide occurred, and on that landslide, Joshimath is placed. It is not placed on a firm ground. It is there on the debris of landslide. Right? So, that is one reason. Any other? Urbanization. Fine. So, infrastructure development. Infrastructure development beyond carrying capacity. Right. So, this is because of Char Dham road project. Char Dham road project. Anything else? It is fine. Tapovan project, fine. But before that, it is base camps of ITBP and army. They are not there in Joshimath, but Joshimath is in transit, on the way to these base camps of ITBP and army. So road construction has happened in this particular area, and there is a movement of vehicular traffic nearby Joshimath, and that's why that can also be considered as additional region for infrastructural development. Fine. Then one more reason is that NTPC has carried out tunneling activity in this particular area, and during their tunneling activity in 2008 or 2008-9, it led to puncturing of an aquifer. One aquifer was punctured due to the tunneling activity. And this punctured aquifer led to release of huge amount of water, right? And local people in Joshimath blame this. But at the same time, government bodies are not blaming this, right? So you can imagine what can be the reason. Fine. One more. There is lack of drainage facility. And as there is a lack of drainage facility, soak pits are used. It is said that more than 80% of houses in Joshimath, they use soak pits. And as a result of use of soak pits, there can be cavities. There can be production of cavities in soil. And due to the production of these cavities, there may be land subsidence. Fine. So these are different reasons because of which Joshimath has faced land subsidence. Fine. And then you can add those points that it is already a fragile ecosystem wherein developmental activities, tourism activities are going on a large scale. Next is geo-heritage value of Ram Setu. Value. So what is Ram Setu? It is also called as Adam's Bridge, and it is a limestone trail connecting Pamban Island of the coast of Tamil Nadu to Mannar Island of the coast of Sri Lanka. Fine. So it is the result of coral reefs. And you must be aware of Setu Samudram ship channel project that is proposed in this particular area. Fine. And there are many controversies related to it. It's not very important for us, but just remember the location. Rama Setu, it connects Pamban Island of the coast of Tamil Nadu to Mannar Island of the coast of Sri Lanka. Next, and if this project is carried out, then it will lead to formation of a link between Gulf of Mannar with Palk Strait. Right? It will lead to formation of a link between Gulf of Mannar and Palk Strait. Fine. So that much is sufficient for us. Next, ONGC to map India's geothermal resources. Right? So geothermal energy is a renewable energy, and that's why in order to use renewable energy, we can even depend on geothermal sources, and ONGC is going to map these sources. So geothermal energy is the heat that is generated within the earth. It is a type of renewable energy, and it is clean and carbon free. And the source is Earth's crust or interior of Earth due to hot and molten magma. Do we use geothermal energy as of now? Yes, we use, right? Yes, we use, and the potential of India is to generate 10 gigawatts of geothermal energy. And major potential regions are, first is Ladakh. Ladakh has been identified as the most resource rich region in terms of geothermal energy. And apart from Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, along with rivers like Alaknanda, Satluj, Bias and Bhagirathi. Fine, so Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, and third is Ankleshwar in Gujarat. Third is Ankleshwar in Gujarat. So these are the locations where we have major availability of geothermal energy. Next now. World's top producer is America. World's top producer of geothermal energy. More geothermal energy availability is there. I think it is there in Scandinavian countries, some Scandinavian countries it is. Right. You can check that fact. Next now. Next is Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021. Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021. कितना लिखा है 2022? Fine, 2022. Firstly, it was introduced in 2021, but it was reintroduced in 2022. USA. It is USA only. Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 22. So what are the important clauses? Can you please tell me important clauses of this? Fine. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to make our act, Wildlife Protection Act, in sync with sites. Right? And there will be establishment of one management authority. Who will permit trade of species listed under sites, right? So this will ensure that the species mentioned under sites are given proper protection. Fine. So that is first. Second is rationalization of schedules. So already we have 6 schedules in WPA 1972. 6 schedules are there, and in the bill there will be 4 schedules. Sorry? It's deleted. Fine. So 4 schedules are there in the bill. First will be for those animals which will be given higher degree of protection. Will be given. In the second schedule, lower degree protection will be given to animals, or those animals which need lower degree of protection will be included under Schedule 2. Schedule 3 will be for plants. It will be for plants, and fourth schedule is called as scheduled specimens. And these specimens are of sites. These specimens are the specimens listed under appendices of sites. Fine. Next, any other important development here? So that interpretation that you can draw. Fine. So one of the important provisions, I am coming to it. Invasive species will be regulated. Invasive species will be regulated here. Right? Next.
वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी होती ना, तो CWW से हमें परमिशन लेनी पड़ती थी, अब वो परमिशन लेनी नहीं पड़ेगी, मतलब दे कैन मतलब वो बाहर
Management of wildlife sanctuaries will be according to the plan approved by center but developed by CWW. Right, so that is what is the provision of this. That means even central government will be having role in the management of wildlife sanctuaries, which was not there earlier. Right, so that is also an important provision. Next is conservation reserves. Conservation reserves can now be notified by central government. Right now it is done by states only. Elephants can be used for religious and other activities. Right, so those are the important points. Any other?
कैप्टिव एनिमल्स के लाइसेंस देना पड़ेगा और सरेंडर के कॉम्पनसेशन.
Fine. So under bill there is a provision that if you surrender any specimen of species of animal or plant, you will not be given any compensation. That will become a property of state government. Fine. So such kind of provisions are there. Next now, green steel. So again, green means where renewable energy will be used. Right. So green steel is manufacturing of steel without use of fossil fuels. So low carbon energy sources like hydrogen, coal gasification, electricity instead of traditional carbon intensive manufacturing route of coal fired plants can be used. So wherever low emission technologies are used, that will become green in nature. Next, India's coal production to surpass 1 billion tons by 2025. This is the report of International Energy Agency. Fine. So India's coal consumption has doubled since 2007, and India and China are increasing their investment in coal sector. Fine. So there is no phase out of coal in the near future. Coal's use will only going to increase, at least in case of India. Fine. But there are consequences, and consequences you are aware of. It will lead to emission of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, etc. It will also lead to environmental degradation when you carry out extraction of coal. Fine. So those are the consequences. Even that will lead to pollution, because fly ash will be generated when coal is used in thermal power plants. Fine. Next is Australia's Reef 2050 plan. So we know that in the northeastern part of Australia we have a Great Barrier Reef, and this Great Barrier Reef is composed of more than 2,900 individual reefs and 900 islands. So it is a World Heritage Site, and this tag it has received in 1981. But because of the overutilization of reef resources, especially because of tourism activities, that reef is getting harmed, and that's why Australia is implementing this plan in order to ensure that reef is conserved. Fine. Next is coral bleaching. What is coral bleaching? Fine. So we know that coral reefs are formed because of the symbiotic association between coral polyps and zooxanthellae algae, right? but as the temperature of water increases, coral polyps will expel zooxanthellae algae, and that expellation of zooxanthellae algae will lead to whitening of corals, because corals, the color of corals is because of algae. It is because of algae. So as they are removed, corals will become white, and that is what is called as coral bleaching. But this is not a death of coral reefs. Coral bleaching is not a death. They can, if water conditions, if temperature conditions improve, they can again form association. But if temperatures increase, then that ultimately will lead to death. Sorry? It's 20 degrees Celsius, 20 to 22 degrees Celsius. का range है 20 degree Celsius to 22 degree Celsius. That is the optimum temperature that they have. And see, 2 degrees in waters is huge. 2 degrees in waters is huge. Fine. Next, Project Dolphin. Project Dolphin, initiated in 2019, is not only a project for gangetic dolphins, it will also be a project for marine dolphins like Iravadi. Fine. And it will be implemented on the lines of Project Tiger, and MOEF and CC will be the implementing agency. Chilka Lake. Chilka Lake. See, they are marine dolphins. Not only means in India they are found in Chilka Lake, but they are found in Bay of Bengal region, even in the Myanmar region, means off the coast of Myanmar. Right. Gangetic dolphin. So gangetic dolphin, its IUCN status is endangered. They are a part of first schedule of Wildlife Protection Act, Appendix 1 of CITES and Appendix 2 of CMS. It is also a national aquatic organism. Where do we have it? It is there in the Indo-Gangetic Biogeographic Zone. Indo-Gangetic Biogeographic Zone. Next is eco-sensitive zones. It will be decided by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change only. All organisms. I am not aware of it, who determines it, but it will be MOEF and CC. Fine. Or there will be establishment of separate committee for it, which will determine, which will take into account all the recommendations. For example, great Indian bustards were in the race of national bird. But these were decided in the earlier times. Right. Next now, so next is ESZ. So this is also an important issue. What is the issue of ESZs, eco-sensitive zones? They are created under which act? EPA. ESZs are created under Environment Protection Act 1986. Fine. And what are ESZs? ESZs are a kind of shock absorber for existing protected areas. They are kind of shock absorber for existing protected areas. Fine. And there is no fixed rule as such, but they are created around protected areas and their width will be around 10 kilometers. Fine. But Supreme Court in 2022 has said that every protected area should have ESZs around it whose width should be 1 kilometers. But that was protested in state of Kerala because of number of reasons, like high population density in Kerala. It is 3 times the national average. Secondly, already land is limited in Kerala, right, because almost 43% land is covered by Western Ghats. Fine. So already land availability is lesser, and that's why if people are asked to move away from protected areas by 1 kilometers, that will lead to displacement in a state where already livelihood opportunities are limited. You must be aware Kerala is a state from where we have highest migration to other countries. Fine. So that is the problem. So there may be a question, ESZs are created under Wildlife Protection Act. No, under EPA. Next now, flexi fuel vehicle. So Toyota has came up with a sedan car with flexi fuel flexi fuel, which will be a blend of petrol, ethanol and methanol.
Even Hero has a bike their own bike.
Many companies are coming up with their own these kind of vehicles. Next, blue flag certification. So this is important. Blue flag certification. It is given by a Denmark based not for profit foundation organization called Foundation for Environmental Education. And there are 33 criteria which are broadly classified under 4 headings, and those are environmental education and information, bathing water quality, environmental management, and 4th is conservation and safety and services in the beaches. Fine. This blue is only for beaches. Blue flag, it's only for beaches. No, as per my information, it is only for beaches, right? And first blue flag beach was created in France, and then it moved outside of Europe in 2021. And which are the other agencies involved in blue flag program? It is UNEP, then United Nations World Tourism Organization, FE is also there, which is the founding member, and then IUCN. Fine. And in India also we have many blue flag beaches. You can get the information on recent blue flag beaches incorporated. Fine. Next is Mission Life. So this is a initiative given by or launched by the Prime Minister of India. It is called as Lifestyle for the Environment, where focus is to bring positive change in the environment by collective action. And under this project, individuals are persuaded to undertake simple climate friendly actions in their daily lives or adopt environment conscious lifestyle. Right, so it is a kind of initiative wherein we are trying to change the supply side, right? The supply side of, not supply side, demand side of the energy, right? Because if green energy demand is there from people, then there will be organizations which will be producing that kind of energy, right? And thus there will be less impact on the life on the environment. Fine. So it is pro-planet people. So 3P, again P3 approach is followed in life. Pro-planet people. And these pro-planet people will have a shared commitment to adopt and promote environment friendly lifestyle. Fine. And one of the prime focus of life is to move from use and dispose economy to circular economy. To move from use and dispose economy to circular economy. Fine. So that is about this. Next is national, international organizations. So I'll give you this as a homework. नहीं मैं अगला टॉपिक ले रहा हूँ. This you can do as a homework because it is very factual in nature. So how many organizations are there? Sorry? Okay, fine, we'll do important ones. Important ones we'll do. So first is Global Registry of Fossil Fuels. You can do this. Global Offshore Wind Alliance. So it is alliance of 9 countries sign up Global Offshore Wind Alliance in COP27, and those countries are Belgium. So India is not there. India is not there in alliance. Which alliance? Global Offshore Wind Alliance. India is not a part of it. And why this alliance was established? It was established to remove barriers to energy and ramp up offshore wind in order to tackle the climate. So there may be a question on this, that India has started this offshore wind alliance, Global Offshore Wind Alliance in COP27, and we may have idea in mind that International Solar Alliance OSOWOG is started by India, so this will also be of India, but India is not there, right? So in this alliance, India is not a party. Okay? Next now, India Wind Energy Market Outlook 2022-26. So India currently has 4 gigawatts of prospective projects in wind energy, which will complete installation by 2024. Right, so not very important. Next, Stockholm plus 50. So this is important. Stockholm plus 50. When Stockholm Conference was held? 1972. What is the formal name of Stockholm Conference? United Nations Conference on Human Environment. Human Environment. UNCHE. UNCHE. And one of the most important outcome of Stockholm Conference was formation of UNEP. Formation of UNEP, which is headquartered at Nairobi. Next, so okay, so this follow-up conference was held and it was named as Stockholm plus 50. Fine, so no significant information is not there. Fine, next now, One Ocean Summit. One Ocean Summit. UNESCO pledges to have at least 80% of seabed mapped by 2030. Why this is important? Why mapping of seabed is important? Resources, fine. Because see, they say that we have 7 to 8 million species of organisms, but we have only mapped around 1.3 million. Right, and that's why most of the organisms which may be present given the large volume of waters or oceans, most of the organisms will be there in aquatic ecosystem. So we need to find out that so that we'll be able to manage it, because what gets measured gets managed, and that's why first of all mapping of oceans is important, so that we'll be able to conserve oceans. And apart from that, we will also be able to use resources available in oceans. You must have heard about Deep Ocean Mission to be carried out by India. Which one? Ministry of Earth Science. What that mission is called as? Deep Ocean Mission. Right? Similar to Gaganyaan, we are coming up with Deep Ocean Mission as well. Right? Again, to map ocean floors. Next is Global Carbon Budget 2022. So it was a report released by Global Carbon Project, a group of scientists who track carbon emitted by human activities. And what are their key findings? As per them, it is expected that carbon emissions will reach 40 million tons of CO2 into atmosphere in 2022 only, right? And it is only carbon dioxide that they are talking about. It is not entire greenhouse gases. Fine. So only carbon dioxide will be around 40.6 billion tons, right? In 2019, we emitted almost 54 billion tons of greenhouse gases. In 22, 40.6 billion tons are only CO2. Fine. Next is, there is no sign of carbon emission decline required for limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature. Fine. India is expected to witness high increase in carbon emissions in the world in 2022 when compared to previous year. Fine. Next is Climate Performance Index, CCPI. So it is given by Green Watch. It is given by Green Watch along with the New Climate Institute and Climate Action Network since 2005, right? Green Watch. Acha, German Watch. Sorry. German Watch only. It is given since 2005. And what is the rank of India in this Climate Performance Index? India is 8th. Can you please tell me top 3 countries? Top 3 countries. Scandinavian countries. Find out top 3 countries of CCPI. Find out top 3 countries of CCPI. It is your homework. Next, methane alert and response system. So again, one of the important outcomes of COP27 was methane alert and response system, which is a satellite based system launched at COP27 to help government detect methane emissions and tackle them. Why it was launched? Because in COP26 there was a methane pledge moved by or which was adopted on the instance of USA and EU, right? India is a member of it or not? No, India is not a member of it. Fine. So top 3 are blank. Top 3 are blank under CCPI. Why? Because no country is performing well to achieve the goal that we have set for Paris Climate Deal. Because CCPI tries to analyze actions of governments on the basis of Paris Climate Deal target. Right? So no government is taking actions which will help us achieve the goals of Paris. Fine? And that's why first three places are blank. Next, India and the ivory tussle between sites and African countries. So 4 African countries, Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, Zimbabwe, they approach sites for removal of elephants from Appendix 2 conservation status for regulation of controlled ivory trade from the region to generate revenue. So you must be aware, India abstained. When this proposal came in COP19 of sites held at Panama City, India abstained from it. Fine, and that was because of the diplomatic investment made by Namibia with us. They negotiated with India, and on that basis we abstained from voting. Why? Because India is not a country which will promote this kind of trade. But this proposal brought by Namibia and other countries was for relaxing norms related to ivory trade. Fine. So that happened in COP19 held in 2022. Next, so COP27 Loss and Damage Fund was established. You must be aware of this Loss and Damage Fund. What is this? Loss and damage? Fine. So loss because of climate induced disasters which are the result of steps taken despite of mitigation and adaptation. Those climatic instances which are leading to damages despite mitigation and adaptation towards climate change will will help countries get relief and compensation from loss and damage fund, right? That means, see, when we talk about climate change, there are two solutions as we have already discussed: mitigation and adaptation. But despite these efforts, there will be climate change events, right? Despite efforts, there will be climate change events, and because of climate change events, there will be damage. There will be loss and damage. So, for this loss and damage, countries can receive fund from, or countries can receive relief from LDF, loss and damage fund. So, the mechanism of financing is not clear. Who will receive funds is also not clear as of now. It is just established. Next, e-waste management rules 2022. Right, so the new rules have introduced the concept of modified extended producer responsibility and will focus on market-based model with all producers being online and seamless. So again, here also we have introduced the concept of EPR certificates. EPR certificates, extended producer responsibility certificates, will be issued who are exceeding their targets, and those certificates can be traded. Which one? No, it came into being in with Kyoto Protocol only, because before that there were no obligations, right? So in Kyoto Protocol only. Next now. Next is Global Forest Declaration Assessment Report. So as per this Global Forest Declaration Assessment 2022, deforestation rates worldwide declined only modestly in 2021 by 6.3% compared to 2018 to 2020 baseline. So not a single global indicator is on track to reverse deforestation by 2030, right? So as per this Global Forest Declaration Assessment, no country is on track to achieve its goal with respect to reducing deforestation. So next point, a 10% annual reduction is needed to be on the course to halt desertification by 2030, but that is not achieved. While afforestation and restoration efforts have been commendable, more forest area is being lost than gained, and global forest loss decreased in 2021, but crucial climate goal of stopping deforestation by 2030 would still be missed, right? We are improving with respect to area under forest cover, but the quantity of land that we should add under forest is still lesser than the goal that we have set by 2030. For that goal, we should ensure that deforestation should fall below 10%, or there should be 10% reduction in the deforestation, but that is not happening. It is only reducing by 6.3%, right? So there is still a gap. Next, COP15 to Convention on Biological Diversity. So what it led to? It was held in Montreal in 2022, and it led to Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which is a successor of HE Action Plan to be implemented between 2010 to 2020, right? Now this will be implemented between 2020 to 2030, right? There are 4 goals and 23 targets under Global Biodiversity Framework. Fine. So what are those? What are the key targets under GBF? So there is a 30 by 30 deal. What does that mean? It means that restore 30% of degraded ecosystem, be it terrestrial or aquatic ecosystem, by 2030. 30 by 30 goal is there. conserve and manage 30% of areas by 2030. So same. Next, stop the extinction of known species and by 2050 reduce tenfold the extinction risk and rate of all species, including those species which are not known to us as of now. So we have to ensure that there is a tenfold reduction in the extinction risk for various species, even those species which we have not discovered as of now. Fine. Next, reduce risk from pesticides by at least 50% by 2030. So that is also one of the important goals. Next, reduce pollution risk and negative impact of pollution from all sources by 2030. See, there are 23 targets which we need to be achieved by 2030, and there are 4 goals which we should achieve by 2050. Right. So you can go through these targets. 23 targets are there. You can go through this. Next is miscellaneous topics. Do we need Indian Environment Service? आप तो हाई बोलोगे. Do we need Indian Environment Service? जो एनवायरमेंट से जुड़ा नहीं है, but you must be aware, IS, Indian Administrative Service, the personnel under IS, they are generalistic, they are not specialistic. So they can learn about environment. Once they go in that service, they can learn about that environment. Fine. Agroecology, where it is? Sustainably manage areas under agriculture, aquaculture, fisheries, forestry, and substantially increase agroecology and other biodiversity friendly practices. That means, see, we have 2 types of ecosystems. First is natural and second is artificial. So artificial also includes crop ecosystem. So when we talk about increase agroecology, that means we are focusing on those approaches wherein we are trying to increase ecosystem, we are trying to increase crop based ecosystem, right? That means it can even include practices like agroforestry, right? What is agroforestry? To cultivate forest crops, forest trees on agricultural land, right? So this kind of approach through agroforestry, wherein we are trying to conserve ecosystem, is called agroecology. Agroecology is the approach of conserving ecosystem on the basis of agricultural practices where agroforestry practices are used. And what we do under agroforestry? We cultivate trees. For example, bamboo plantation, right? Be it on the borders of agricultural land, that will be done. Fine. Next now. So see, that is a debatable topic. Indian Environment Service is debatable topic, but you can remember this committee. The Supreme Court asked central government whether it was planning a dedicated Indian Environment Service as recommended by a committee headed by the former Cabinet Secretary TSR Subramaniam in 2014. In that year, TSR Subramaniam committee was appointed and it recommended creation of separate Indian Environment Services. Fine. So this is not very significant from the prelims perspective. Next now, Ira Matti Dibalu. So Ira Matti Dibalu is a is a rare red sand dune in Vishakhapatnam and Bhimunipatnam in Andhra Pradesh, and citizens have joined hand for its conservation. And it is one of the National Geologic Heritage Monument Site of India, and this tag is given by GSI, Geological Survey of India. Where it is? It is located in Kolkata. We have yesterday discussed it. Next, Bedti Varada interlinking project. So remember where these rivers are. These rivers are there in Karnataka. These rivers are there in Karnataka. Karnataka only, right? Yes, Karnataka only. Next now, World Bank report on India's cooling sector. So as per World Bank, India could soon become one of the first places in the world to experience heat waves that break the human survivability limit. Right, so that may happen in India. We have discussed about wet bulb temperature yesterday. So it is linked to that. Right, so wet bulb temperature of more than 35 degrees Celsius is harmful. So as per this report, we may reach up to that level. And again, it has given the definition of heat waves and severe heat waves. What is the definition of heat waves? It is 4.5 to 6.4 degrees Celsius temperature above average, right? That is heat wave. Severe heat wave is more than 6.4 degrees Celsius temperature. And also second criteria is there. If temperature crosses 45 degrees Celsius temperature, it will be considered as heat wave. And if it crosses 47 degrees Celsius temperature, it is considered as severe heat waves. And for coastal regions, it is 37 degrees Celsius. Next, International Day of Biodiversity. So it is on May 22, and it is an initiative of United Nations to increase awareness about biodiversity issues. Next, World Turtle Day, not very important. Next. 4.5 to 6.4. Next, largest known plant in the world is 4,500 years old. So it was identified in Australia. Fine. So it's around. Its name is Posidonia australis. Posidonia australis. Its stretch is almost 180 kilometers, and it's almost 450 years old. And why it is that large? Because it clones itself. It is large, it is as large as 180 kilometers because it clones itself. Fine. So that is about these topics. See, what I'll do, I'll give you this annotated PDF of mine. Right, I have marked it. It would be helpful to you. ठीक है, पर कैसे दूँ? नहीं, उसकी ज़रूरत नहीं. ठीक है, I'll share you. It's your responsibility to because I have your number. ठीक है. So. See, there are species left. You can do it on your own. Fine. So I'll tell you only those species which are left and important. I'll only tell you that you should do it on your own. So we have covered up till 50. Right, Saras crane we have covered, right. Next important is blue duke, because it is state butterfly of Sikkim, and in 2016 one question was asked, which of the following state became first state to give its state butterfly, right. So that's why it may be important. 51th, blue duke. Next important is 54. Azooxanthellae corals. These are those corals who do not form symbiotic association with zooxanthellae algae. So 54th is important. Next is 57, chain kurinji. Chain kurinji, a species endemic to Agasthyamala. Agasthyamala. Next is snow leopard, 60. Snow leopards, because there is a project on snow leopards launched in 2009, right? It is a state animal of Himachal Pradesh, and its famous protected area is Hemis National Park. Hemis National Park. Then 62 is also important, Great Indian Bustards, Project Godawan. Heaviest flying bird in the world it is. It's one of the heaviest, fine. Next, sea cucumber, it is also important, 66, sea cucumber, right? Because it was also a point of discussion under CITES COP19. Sea cucumber was also a point of discussion under CITES, CITES, COP19 held at Panama. Fine, because they are used as a source of protein, sea cucumber. Next is 69, caracal. Caracal. It is found in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and its IUCN status is least concerned. It is Schedule 1 animal. Spotted deer. Right, so this is also an important topic. Sorry? Which one? Sorry? What is that? Acha, male and female both have those features.
The males have to attract the females. Sexual
Acha.
dimension.
Fine, I'll let you know that. Next is Neela Kurunji. 73.
Sir, one doubt, this caracal is on brink of extinction in India, but it is least concern IUCN.
Which one?
This 69.
It has been widely reported to be on the brink of extinction in India, but it is least. See, IUCN takes time to upgrade its list.
Maybe international area में होगा, हमारे यहाँ गया होगा ऐसे.
That is also a point. Next, 73 is an important topic, Neela Kurinji. Fine. So it is found in Shola forest of Western Ghats in South India, and it's named after famous Kunthi river flowing through Kerala's Silent Valley National Park. It blooms once in 12 years, as the pollination of flowers need a longer period of time, and it is found in Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Next important is next important topic is Roku among bird count. '79 Indian skimmer. So they arrive in Koringa Wildlife Sanctuary, where it is? Kakinada, Puducherry. It is a part of Puducherry, right? It is in Andhra Pradesh.
So that is Karaikal.
Karaikal. Fine, fine, ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है.
It is given by Karaikal that is also part of Puducherry.
Next 82. This plant species is used in Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani and other alternative medicines. Fine, so these are important. 83 is also important, Asian giant tortoise. Asian giant tortoise. Next important is next is 86. 4 new corals were recorded from Indian waters. Though names are not important, they are azooxanthellae corals. They are azooxanthellae corals. So that's it. That's it. Fine. So please go through these topics. Others we have tried to cover. Fine. See, don't multiply sources for current affairs. Don't run after it. It is very difficult to tame current affairs. So whatever, let's say you are doing this, read it, reread it, revise it, and do current affairs for March, April as well, because this is up to February. March and April you will have to do. Okay? Right? So I'll share this with you, and you will have to forward it. Fine. Thank you.